Good morning from New York City. I'm super excited about today's episode because it's something I've been noodling for days, and I wanted to use a quote that I couldn't find, and it's one that I've loved all my life. I found it this morning, and I want to share something that's going on in my life. By way of background, I think I've mentioned this in a past episode. Tipping points is something that has always intrigued me. That moment when we make a decision and we move out of our heads and into action. There's not one person on the planet that cannot think of a moment when they decided to lose weight or leave a relationship or change their job or sell their house. It's that moment when we stop negotiating with ourselves. And oftentimes it's a willingness to simply accept that we don't know exactly how things are going to play out. We decide to trust our knowingness and we suspend for a moment that need to know what's next. I remember when I moved to New York City, I was here looking for a job. I didn't have a lot of money in the bank, and I knew I wanted to move to the States, and I was very attached to getting a job. I was here interviewing, looking for apartments. I was super excited, but nothing was coming together. Everything was just beyond the end of my fingertips, just beyond my reach. I finally came to the decision that I was willing to spend a large chunk of my savings to bet on myself. I remember I didn't even have the money for a down payment. I had no financial history in the United States. My father, at age 40, had to send me a cashier's check. It was exciting and I was scared, but I signed the lease. And what happened? The very next day, I got that job offer. It was mind blowing. Here's the quote that encapsulates what happens when you actually commit and you make a decision. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans, that the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. The heart of that quote is that the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. And that's exactly what happened when I moved to New York. So, on to my story of today. It's funny because I went back and looked at recent episode titles, and you can see that I've been in this process of trying to figure out what's next. I have episodes that range anything from reckonings and beautiful questions to getting quiet with myself when I was talking about airplane mode, and the one about envy offering clues to our desires. So, my conundrum has been around I'm not ready to leave New York City yet. I don't feel that urge to leave. And at the same time, I feel like I want to spread my wings. I want to move towards what's next. So that's been my thing. Like, what is it? What am I supposed to be doing next? Am I supposed to be getting a job? Am I supposed to be moving? Am I supposed to travel around the world? I've been in this process for some months, and it all came to a head on Labor Day. I had my tipping point, I had my moment of decision. So here's what I did. I committed to the decision of leaving New York for a period of time without knowing exactly what that means. Let me back up for a minute and say that I've been trying to decide with my conscious mind, with my rational, practical self, what makes sense for me. And I finally accepted the fact that I really don't know. When I got quiet with myself, I realized that we're all so attached to knowing what's next, me included. And sometimes we have to be willing to accept that we don't know the answer. We simply have to be willing to commit to act on the part we do know, and that can be really uncomfortable. So, what I do know is I'm not ready to leave New York City yet. I'm not ready to go. What I do know is dear Constance is very important to me, and I'm excited about exploring that more. Last part of the story is on Labor Day morning, I made the decision that I was going to spread my wings, and I didn't know how I was going to make that happen, but I knew I was going to make it happen. And in my belief system, when you make a decision, you need to signal and act on it right away. You have to move out of your head and into action. So I put out 2 telephone calls, and within a matter of 48 hours, there was a cascade of events that truly took my breath away. And I've been trying to figure out how to share it. But suffice it to say that sure enough, that person who needs someplace to land in New York City for the exact period of time that I want to be away landed in my lap. That was my first signal that I was really on track. And I completely switched my mindset from, I hope I can do this, to, I'm going to make this happen. That's the game changer. I'm going to make this happen. I won't go on to share all the little things that happened, but let me just say it was remarkable. Everything has been moving my way. My apologies that I've gone on longer than usual on this episode, but my life is being turned upside down. In 3 weeks, I'll be leaving New York. And the first question out of everyone's mouth is, where are you going? And the answer is, I don't know exactly. And that's part of the fun. That's part of the process. Again, I'm acting on what I know. And the primary thing is that I'm going to be working on Dear Constance, and I'm going to continue to put myself in the way of interesting people. And in fact, I'm going to the Modern Elder Academy in October. That's how I'm going to kick off this new adventure of mine. We'll see what is revealed and where that will take me next. So there you have it. I will say I feel slightly uncomfortable sharing all of this with you. Yet before I recorded this, I went back and looked at what I said Dear Constance is. And one of the things I say is that sort of my promise is to be unscripted, unfiltered, and unapologetically vulnerable. And that's what this is about. I don't think that my personal situation is particularly unique. We all come up against those moments in life where we're tested, those tipping points when we make a decision, the decision to reach for what we want without knowing exactly what the outcome will be. And here's the quote that encapsulates what happens when you make a decision. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. There is great power in that moment of decision. Thank you for bearing witness to my process. I share openly because I trust there's always at least one person that can benefit from my story and from my process. So thank you. Until next time, from my heart to yours.